Welcome back to the Higher Form Podcast. We're here every week having real conversations with leaders, coaches, and everyday people about what it takes to become your best. We know life will test you, and we're here to share practical tips, tools, and relatable stories to help you build the highest form of your life. This week, we're going to dive into how to train when life is not perfect.
Because as we know,
life is not perfect.
99% of the time, it's not going as perfectly as you planned.
Yeah, pretty rare, honestly. And about the time that it does start to feel like things are rolling in the kind of like vibe or groove you want to, something usually.
Well, life throws you lemons, throws
Yeah.
you a curveball, whatever popular phrase you want to use, right? We've talked about this so many times before, but today's day and age, everything is so busy. Everybody's so busy all the time, right?
Yep.
And
Always a lot going on, plenty to get involved in. And the biggest challenge is if you have, like a lot of people create these perfect plans for when things go perfectly. It's like in an ideal world, this is exactly what I do. But what happens when the world is not ideal, like we're talking about, which is going to happen quite frequently, then you got to be able to have a way to pivot.
Have you seen there's like a meme and it says like, oh, I'll start that when life calms down next week. And then it's ... Life didn't calm down next week. Like it's just, you think like, oh, I'll do this when, when this is over. And it's like, okay, well, when that's over, something else is going to come up and you're always going to have something that's keeping you distracted or busy because that's just the nature of how we live these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, real life is busy, it's messing, it's changing. Like, how do you navigate the realities of those things? And when you're in that constant state of change, how do you stay consistent with something? So we'll dive into that and really try to look at the natural challenges that we see most people struggle with when they come to see us and put something together, but also things we deal with in our own world and navigating this individually.
Well, more specifically, just like the training aspect of your health, right? Like getting your workouts in and staying active and moving and taking care of your physical body in that way is really what we'll dive into today the most.
Yeah, and I think that what's interesting about that is as much as it's physical, it actually is one of the best things you can do for your mental health. There's all kinds of studies coming out that are really showcasing the effects of strength training and just exercise in general on mental health and how much more valuable and successful it is at helping people manage anxiety, depression, stress when done appropriately than even going on to, medications and looking for more of the traditional Western medicine
Or
solution
work in
for it.
conjunction with, if you are on something and you're needing additional support because that's maybe not enough or you want to work on feeling better without it.
It's kind of the same thing as like GLP-1s, right? If I want to lose weight, I can't just do the medication. I need to adjust the lifestyle. If I'm struggling with my mental health, I can't just look at medication. I have to look at finding ways to be able to nourish my body and work on the internal systems and chemicals that create success there, as well as the physical connection, how that all comes to light.
Well, and it's all interconnected, right? I mean, physical, mental, those two things.
Spiritual, relational, all of it.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Like
It's
it
like, what are
reminds me
the
of the
other
thing, Precision Nutrition has this concept of deep health.
Yeah.
Where it talks about the different aspects. It's your environment, it's your mindset, it's your body, it's your spiritual practices and beliefs and views, and as well as, the other pieces of the puzzle that go into that really round out this collective view of being healthy.
If you want to feel whole. Yeah.
Well, which brings us to this first idea that one of the biggest things people run into that causes things to not be perfect is stress. And you hear that a lot. I'm stressed. When things are busy, it gets stressful. And stress is not necessarily a bad thing when it's utilized the right way, but there's different types of stress, right? You have lifestyle stress, you have intentional physical stress, which exercise is one of those things.
Yeah.
And then you have things that, help you reduce or manage stress, nutrition, sleep, other methods of recovery intentionally, and, social connection and all those pieces too. But one of the things that we had talked about is this like stress loop that people really find themselves in.
Well, and stress is inevitable. You will always have stressors. Like we said, exercise is a stressor as well too. So you're always going to have it. It's just learning how to manage it and work with it rather than it work against you.
Well, that and what can I control and what can I not control? Because some stresses are going to be a natural part of being a human being that's alive.
Yeah.
And other stresses are things that maybe you do have more control over than you realize. and being able to get clear around, what stress, how can I increase my tolerance to stress physically through exercise?
Yeah.
And how can I manage my recovery from stress through other modalities, like we said, things like,
Just
recovery
recovery
methods, just
methods.
generally
Yeah.
getting more sleep,
Yeah.
eating better.
Well, and just being more mindful when you go through your day. I
Yeah.
know that it's like if you're always in a rush and you're always go, 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 like that's just you're spiking your cortisol all day long if you're just consistently in a rush 24/7. So
Yeah.
you need to find ways to be present and mindful and be where you are and not be like rushing through every single piece of your day because then your cortisol is just going to be spiked all day long.
And interestingly enough, you will crave that feeling. When you get so used to it, it becomes something that like I want to compound or combat stress with stress. And that's the loop that I was referring to.
Yeah.
If you're in a situation where you have a lot of things going on in your life, you're very stressed, you're busy, you've got a lot of moving pieces, it's not uncommon for us to see people navigate or transition or really be drawn to the higher stress forms of exercise.
Well, we've had like CEOs or high performing in their
Or
career
people
in
who have
any
a job and
way.
a side hustle and a family, you don't have to even be
Just
in
a
a certain job
stressful,
title. Yeah.
yeah, a stressful life or a busy life,
Yep.
right? And then they want to go do these high intensity exercises every time they're here because they're like, I gotta push, I gotta go, let's
Yeah.
rush,
Instead
let's
of
do
doing
it.
yoga, I'm going to do hot works where I do yoga in 100 degrees.
And have my intensity be even higher,
Instead of
right?
going through and doing like structured progressive overload strength training, I do a high intensity conditioning class that's painted as strength training.
Well, strength training that's progressively overloaded, you have 2, 3 minute rest times between your sets. So it's like you push yourself and then you recover. But in a high intensity workout class, you're just going for 45
And that's a
minutes,
different
right?
mental framework and different mindset to say, I'm going to push myself in a different way in a very short period of time, and then actually step out of it and take a moment to catch my breath so I can come back in and give my best focused effort instead of saying, I'm going to come in, I'm going to move nonstop for the next 45
Yeah.
minutes. I'm going to be sore when I'm done. I'm going to sweat. I'm going to breathe hard. It's going to be so
Yeah.
difficult. And I'm going to do that again tomorrow. And that compounds. And that's that loop is I have a stressful life, so I chase a stressful workout.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, you want to look at something that's going to better support and build like tolerance to that,
Which would be,
which would be doing something that is going to be more intentionally focused on progressive overload.
mm-hmm.
And progressive overload done right from a strength training standpoint is week over week, things build on top of each other. There's a intentional design that allows you to be able to progressively do more weight, shorten your rest breaks, which seems contradicting, but like there's ways to progressively overload. The most traditional is more weight or more reps, right?
Yeah, say more weight or more reps or adding other things like,
Yeah, more volume.
yeah, volume,
Yeah, so
like
like
more
more exercises,
sets
more
total.
sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that not done fast. So it doesn't mean like this week I rest for 2 to 3 minutes, next week I rest for 30 seconds. It's like rest breaks can be part of it, but there's so many different variables, right? So let's just start with that. You have weight.
Mm-hmm.
You can also do things based on time, so it can be duration.
Yeah.
It can be done differently with different tempos, so I can go
That's what
slower.
I was thinking earlier, like time under tension style, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do like I love how Dalen does cluster sets. Like I just
Yeah.
did that in my lower body workout yesterday, where
Yeah.
one of the things that's great for breaking a plateau or like helping with hypertrophy, which is a fancy word for muscle growth, is
Mm-hmm.
taking a higher percentage of weight that I could normally only do for maybe 6 reps and put that into what's called a cluster set, where I'll do 4 reps. I'll step out of the rack. I'll take about a 20-ish second break. I'll step back in, do another 4 reps, step out, step back in after 20 seconds, do another 4 reps. So I end up doing 12 reps at a higher intensity,
Yeah.
but there's like 2 to 3 minutes in between those cluster sets of 3 by 4.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's ways to kind of like trick yourself into getting that exposure that people are craving.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think that there's value in challenging yourself in workouts, but that like traditional, I have to be sweaty, sore, exhausted, it does not serve people because then it becomes unsustainable and that's where people fall off.
Well, and maybe it's not every single class. Like it's not that you
Yep.
can't have maybe a high intensity class within your week
Yep.
somewhere, but not every class is a high intensity
Yeah, you're going to have
class.
some days that are meant to be harder and some days that are
Yeah.
meant to be easier.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it more sustainable if you can really wrap your head around the fact that I don't have to kill myself every single time I'm in the gym. In
Yeah.
fact, if I'm in a position where I can intentionally say today's going to be a day where I push my repetitions a little bit further, but I'm just trying to get like an 80% effort, where maybe tomorrow in my workout, I'm going to go all out. And you don't even have to have it that structured. it can be really based on how you feel that day even too.
Or if you are super organized and you want to say, like, you know what, Mondays are the busiest day of my week because of whatever reason, I'm going to have a lower intensity day on that day.
Because I need
Fridays
to
are
like
lighter,
chill.
work calms down by the end of the week. I can handle a higher intensity day at the end of my week. So you can cater what types of workouts you're hitting in your week based off of other stressors in your life. So
Yeah.
you can be strategic about it.
Big general theme, prior planning prevents poor performance, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a position where you can stop long enough to put together a plan and just think intentionally, a lot of times those chaotic moments that throw you off can actually be predicted a little bit better because we are creatures of habit. We find ourselves doing the same things, but when you're not slowing down long enough to really just sit back and plan it, like we talk about this with clients in nutrition all the time, but training, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like stop for an hour on Sundays before you go to the grocery store and just sit down and think about like when am I gonna eat this week?
What does my week look
What does my
like?
week look like?
Look at your
When am I getting my
calendar.
workouts in? A lot of
Yeah.
times we have clients in our weekly planner sheet plan out their workouts and their meals together.
Yeah.
That way you can start to think about pre-post workout nutrition. But do all that stuff at the same time. And if you're thinking 1 hour a week out of 168 hours there are in a week, that's a very small percentage of your time.
Yeah.
It's just like less than 1% of your time to plan out being effective in the rest of it. And know that also it doesn't have to be this like crazy frequency. Most people, when they do it right, 3 to 4 days a week is fantastic for 45 minutes to 60 minutes,
Yeah.
which is still, once again, like 3 to 4% of your time total.
Yeah.
It just has to be planned in advance and plan for, hey, like you said, this day or these days are typically more stressful. So those are the days that I'm going to come in and I'm going to get some movement in and I'm going to be okay with just showing up and getting it done and checking the box. But on the other 2 days, like I probably need to really push myself. When's the best time for me to do that this week?
Yeah.
It does not have to be the same every week. It can mold and change, especially if you've got a lot going on. It's going to have to be that way.
For sure. Well, prime example, the other week I tried to wake up earlier and get my run in,
Yeah.
and then one of our boys woke up early as
Yeah.
well. And so it just trumped my
Yeah. And this
situation.
doesn't matter if it's a run or a lift. It's just it's a workout in general.
Workout, whatever.
Yes.
Yes, but me specifically, it was my run. And so I had to push it to later in the day with other flexibility. So, like, putting it in your calendar helps you stay organized with it. But if you need to move it around, at least you can see, oh, okay, I can move this workout to this day because something
Yeah,
happened
it
or
literally happened
whatever,
today. I
right?
was planning on working out before we filmed this and it didn't happen. But I've got a gap later today, and if it has to get pushed to tomorrow, it can
That's
as
what I'm
long as
saying.
it
But like,
doesn't
if you
happen.
iron out your week ahead of time,
Yeah.
then you can see where you do have some maybe flexibility to move things around if life
And I think
happens, which
even
is
then,
going to happen.
also, if this is a priority for you, you got to plan for there to be some level of flexibility.
Well, yeah.
If you have a lot going on, you can't just assume that it's going to be perfect and that it's going to fall in and create so much of a tight window that you really don't have an opportunity to pivot because,
Yeah.
like we said, life is not going to go as planned.
Yeah.
So, I think we hit the part about like progress doesn't mean difficult, progress means consistent.
Yeah.
And finding a way to be able to plan in advance helps allow you to do that.
For sure.
Even when things change, being able to slide it around. Like if you're not using some form of calendar, I cannot tell you enough. If you're somebody who says, I can't do this because I'm busy or I fall off because life gets crazy, and you're not using a calendar, you are completely doing yourself a disservice because that is 100% the only way we survive.
We've talked about this on previous episodes before, but we live and die by our Google calendars.
Yep.
We color code things that are personal, things for the children, things for our workouts, work stuff. Like everything has a color,
Yep.
and we iron out every single day of the week what's going on. And if we didn't do that, we would just things would be slipping through the cracks, and we wouldn't have as much productivity.
And a hard to swallow pill if you're the type of person that's like, well, I'm just not that organized. It's like, well, then you just aren't going to be that fit. Like that's the reality of it. You're just not, just isn't that important to you because we didn't start that way. And neither did anyone else who's successful at doing
I
this.
think when I was in my young 20s, I wasn't using Google Calendar, but like as we've gotten older, the more responsibilities we have, the more you have to keep track of, the more you have to be
Because
organized.
these things have stayed a priority.
Totally.
And I think part of keeping that a priority is understanding the mindset that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach every time you hit the gym. If you're in a position where everything feels like it has to be like go, 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 and you're chasing a hard workout or you're chasing the workouts, like it's so much bigger than that. Training is something that compounds over months and
It's a
years.
long game.
So it's more about consistency than it is about intensity. And if you can find something you can repeat and you can find ways to enjoy the process and learn how to navigate this up and down of like falling off and starting over and falling off and starting over.
Which brings the next kind of piece of the puzzle here of like wanting to get into a routine when life is perfect versus when life is busy. Maybe you're going through a stressful, busy time in work or something, and you're like, well, let me just wait until next month when things calm down.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, but
Dot,
things,
dot, dot.
yeah,
1 month later,
one
things
month
did not,
later,
in fact, calm down.
or that thing calmed down and then this thing flared up. So it was just a different thing jumped in, you know? So, staying busy through the ebbs and the flows of life.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've said this before too, but the only constant is change itself. Like
Yeah.
change is going to happen. You're going to run into different things in different seasons of life. And some seasons might be more on maintaining, but you can't maintain without being consistent.
Yeah.
And
What are you maintaining?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then you say, like you would mention, we'll wait until this and I'll start that. The best time to start something is in the middle of a change because things are already in flux. And when you're going through a lot of things that you can't control, it's important that you grab onto things that you can control.
Or reestablish a new routine or a consistency of something while everything
Literally in the
else
last
is
3 days, I've
crazy.
met with multiple people who are in the middle of job transitions or life transitions or moving.
Yeah.
They've had big things happen
Yeah.
and they've understood this idea that, man, maybe this is a good time for me to reevaluate what's happening. Some of them better about this mindset of saying like, this is the one thing I actually can control during these changes. Let me establish that routine around something that helps amplify other aspects of my life
Yeah.
by taking care of and prioritizing my self-care so I can handle the unknown, the crazy, the hectic, the things that I can't really control versus, well, when that gets settled in, I think I'll be in a spot where I'll be ready to make this happen. I got to see what happens everywhere else first.
Yeah.
And that's so logical. Like it makes perfect sense.
Why you would naturally want to do it that
Yeah,
way.
like I don't blame people for that, but at the end of the day, if you really step back and consider all things, you may not have a lot of control in most of these other areas. And what can you control? You can control your commitment to something. You can control your priorities. You can control where you put your energy and your effort
I was
and
gonna
your
say,
attitude.
because a lot of these uncontrollables can be stressful, let's do something that supports your body and your mental health to navigate all these other stressors that you're going through. So get consistent with your workouts. So that's an outlet for you with your energy and your mental state.
And I think a
And
lot of that is that it's hard for people to see that when they're in the thick of it because there's so much going on up here.
we've been there.
Yeah, well, it's like I don't have the capacity to think about what that looks like. Easy plug, that's where the value of having a coach is.
Yeah.
It gives you an opportunity to be able to say, I'm going to remove the decision fatigue of having to think about how this looks and really lean into the investment and the commitment to working with someone who can take care of the structural and the strategic side of it
Yeah.
and keep me accountable to this commitment to myself so that I can have something I control, which is tough because it requires the uncomfortable commitment process, whether that's time, whether that's trust in a process or a person or a place, or obviously the financial side of it
Financials.
too.
Yeah.
So I get the barriers or the limitations, but it's just this whole thing is about a mindset shift
Yeah.
and that I have the ability to control very few things in my life, but what my priorities are 100% one of those things.
Well, and if somebody is trying to get into a routine or maintain just consistency through a chaotic time or getting back on track, what is a simple like split or routine that they should be doing, right? Like
Yeah.
if they only get 2 or 3 days in the gym, should they do a lower body, upper body, lower body? Should they be doing full body every time? Like what would be the most bang for their buck when they are trying to just find a routine again or get back into a routine again?
Full body strength training
Yeah.
because you can't guarantee that you're going to get 3.
Yeah, because something might come up and you might only get 2 and you don't want to have 2 upper body days done or something like
Yeah,
that,
your
right?
meat and potatoes needs to be done in your first 2 workouts because 2 is kind of the bare minimum from a maintenance standpoint.
Yeah.
And you got to stay active. Like there are a couple of things that play into this. We'll focus on just the training side, but the I hate saying this because we say it all the time. It's like the internet's full of all these things. It's true though, but it's like you can go out and find people that tell you need to train body part splits. You need to do CrossFit workouts. You need to do powerlifting programs. What if I don't have time to do a squat, bench, dead separate workout? What if I don't have
Mm-hmm.
time to hit back, buys, chest, tries, legs once, legs twice, core and shoulders? Like that's where people go wrong is they try to follow plans that work for people who don't have these limitations. And that's a very small percentage of people compared to what you actually see in real life.
Yeah.
And then you start to think like, well, I can't get that in, so I can't do it. And that's that same mindset of having to do what works for someone else or having to follow something that like isn't set up for sustainability.
We've
And
talked about this before. I remember like when I was looking into a program for something years ago, it was like 5 days a week of this. And I was like, I can't do that right now with my
yep.
schedule and my life. And it's so hard to find a
And it
plan.
sounds so good because it's like, damn, I know I would feel great if I could do that.
Yeah.
But you set yourself up for failure with like trying to set these expectations to train like you have a lot of time to do it. Because if you don't, it's I need to focus on if you really boil this down to the most simple thing possible, and you only had 4 exercises twice a week, I would do a lower body exercise, an upper body exercise, a core exercise, and something more dynamic,
Yeah.
rowing, biking, running. Like
Yeah.
that gives you everything you need. Upper, lower, core. One day I can do more pulling focused movements. One day I do more pushing focused movements.
Yeah.
One day I do more front core. The other I do more side. And then I do something to get my heart rate up, like
Yeah.
it really can be that simple. And if that's the bare minimum, that's great.
Yeah.
You want to go to the next step, there's arguably 6 to 8 functional movement patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, if you're looking at most of the people that are going to benefit from hearing this or in this situation, it's finding a way to be able to sit down and say, in your workouts, today I'm going to do squat and pulling stuff.
Yeah.
The second day, I'm going to do hinge and pressing stuff. The third day, I'm going to do like a lunge or a step up and core stuff. And if you pick 2 exercises from each one of those, there's 3 days a week, 4 exercises each time, and you're done.
Isn't it like upper pull, lower push, and then vice versa or
Or you could
whatever?
do
Yeah.
both. Like, and that's the
Yeah.
things, it doesn't have to be that complex. There's different layers of this.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it from an optimization standpoint, there's definitely strategies to
Yeah.
follow. But for the sake of what we're talking about today, it's just about getting something done
Yeah.
and then compounding that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Doing something that's not the most strategic thing in the world, but it gets
Yeah.
you something done is better than having the best strategy that doesn't happen.
Yeah, for sure. You got to find what works for your schedule and your life and the time commitments that you have
And when
available.
you get to a point where things calm down or you hit a wall or whatever makes sense, then you can start looking at strategy. But so many times the biggest reason people fail is because they come and they try to optimize strategy, they
Mm.
optimize frequency, they lay out the perfect plan for if nothing happens, and they wait until the time that the stars align for them to get started.
Yeah.
And that's just not real life. That's not
Yeah.
realistic for people.
So let's say you're coming off of maybe being inconsistent and you're looking to get consistent again, or maybe you took a vacation or a hiatus or a summer break and you're like, okay, let me get it back together now. I like your thought process. I don't know what it's from or
I got it
what,
from Ben
but
Bergeron.
Ben Bergeron,
Yeah.
what it takes 10 workouts to get you back to kind of
Yeah, so
feeling
Ben
where
Bergeron's
you're at.
was and still is a very highly successful CrossFit coach. They've moved into more functional fitness. He doesn't really train athletes anymore, but
Hmm.
like Katrin Davis' daughter was one of his clients, and
Yeah.
she won the CrossFit Games like 3 years in a
Matt
row or something
Frazier
like that.
and
Matt Frazier
started
worked with
out
him.
there. Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of these like high level CrossFit people, and I've always loved Ben's mindset. Like we still reshare a lot of his stuff on our
Yeah,
own
he's
pages
got a
because it's
lot of
just
great mindset tips out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of it was really around this idea that every time you start back up with something after you've taken a break off, the first few are not going to be fun.
No.
That you're going to be out of breath, you're going to feel weak and tired, and it just may not feel good, especially if you've been in decent shape before, because you're immediately comparing yourself to where you left off.
Yeah.
He has what's called the 10 workout rule. And the whole concept is that I can't create any level of judgment until I get 10 workouts done. So what that might look like for most people is anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks doing something 2 to 3 days a week consistently.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the same days and times, but like we'd said, if I can say, you know what, I'm going to give myself 5 weeks to get back into a routine. And when I hit my 10th workout, I can look at how I'm doing and I can make a level of judgment.
And this, I feel like, brings it into perspective because that probably feels like a long time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
5 weeks of like until you feel good again or until you
Yep.
feel like you're in the shape that you were in maybe before
Simon
or
Sinek has
whatever.
this really famous clip where he talks about this idea that I can go to the gym today and look in the mirror tomorrow
Yeah.
and nothing changes.
Yeah.
I can go to the gym 3 times in a week and look in the mirror the next week and nothing changes. I can go to the gym 3 days a week for a month and still visibly not much changes. I may feel better, I may notice other things, but until you compound that consistency over 6 weeks minimum, but ideally like 12 weeks to 6 months, you're not really going to notice that much change. And that's what makes this so hard. But also goes back to the whole root of what we're talking about is like life is not going to allow for this perfect scenario where I get a magic wand and I can push all the things to the side that get in my way and create the life and body and health outcomes or performance of my
Well, it's
dreams, you
just
know?
the patience of sticking to consistency,
Delayed
following through.
gratification.
It's a delayed gratification, which I think today's day and age, people have a really hard time with because
We've been
everything
trained
else,
away from it. That's why.
well, because everything's at our fingertips and we can get answers to anything and whatever. This is one of those things that is hard for people to comprehend because it's going to take a while.
Yeah. I mean, anything worth having doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And we can sit here and tell ourselves that all day long, but it is much harder to uh, really like stay focused on and realize and
Yeah.
remember than it is to just sit and say it.
Yeah.
Because we all fall guilty of the same patterns of thinking and thought process around like, man, I wish this happened tomorrow. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, don't we all want that? But
Yep.
I think that's also part of why exercise and working hard towards something, this doesn't even have to relate to exercise, but that's what we're talking about today. But it's so rewarding when you do reach the goal because it took a long time to get there, most likely.
Hmm.
Building muscle, losing weight, hitting a performance goal, doing
Like the iceberg,
yeah. What?
the iceberg analogy.
Oh.
There's so much beneath the surface.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot more that happened
There's
to
a
get you
lot.
there.
Yeah, but that it's so much more rewarding and gratifying when you do get there because you know how much went into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where today's social media world doesn't allow people to see like how much work somebody actually did to like get that transformation that they had.
Even if you're not on social media and let's say that you're at the grocery store and you see somebody that just looks really fit,
Yeah.
you're like, dang, I wonder what they do. Like, even
Yeah.
I think that. I'm like, man, I
Yeah.
wonder what they do. I wonder how they train. I wonder how they got there.
Yeah,
And that like comes across. So whether it's on the internet or in real life, you see those things happen.
for sure.
And I think that the truth is 9 times out of 10, that person's been working on it for like
Years.
years,
Years.
many, many years.
Yeah.
And they started at a point that was probably not far off from where you are. Maybe you didn't start at the same place, but like
Either way,
conceptually,
everybody started somewhere at
they
some
all
point in
started at it.
time,
Yep.
but it could have been years and years ago versus maybe you're at the beginning of your journey or
Yep.
something. So you can't even
Another great quote, don't
compare.
compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20.
Totally.
Yeah, like you're not in a position where you can just say, "Hey, I should be there. I want to be like that." And it's great to be aspirational and to be motivated by that. But at the end of the
Totally.
day, like you've got to be real with what it's going to take to get there.
Well, and that person that could be their job is working out.
Yeah.
Like literally 5, 6 days a week, 2-hour sessions. Maybe they're a sponsored runner or athlete or
Yeah.
some sort, right? So it's
Yeah.
just you never know what somebody's story is and how much work went into getting there.
Well, back to that 10 workout rule, I think so many people try to rush into that. So it's like, I'm
Let
going
me
to get
get 5 this week and 5 next week, and then
Exactly.
I'm 2 weeks
and then
in.
they get so sore, so burnt out, so overstressed because they're chasing that loop of speed instead of consistency. So it's just one of those things you got to recognize. It's just really not going to happen. You got to give yourself space to rebuild rhythm and time and be gracious and kind to yourself. And I think sometimes it
Yeah.
even comes from a place of people having a lot of really like poor self-image, right? Like if you're not in good shape, you're going to probably be a little bit harder on yourself. You're probably going to be a little bit less gracious about your efforts and where you're at, and maybe more self-deprecating, whether it's like externalized or just something that stays up in your head,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh, I can't believe you didn't do this, and like just negative self-talk will kill you in that scenario where
Yeah.
it's just not that's another version of extreme. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where maybe putting some positive influences in front of your face is beneficial.
Yeah.
I always go back to social media because I think it's a common relatable point for people because a lot of people are on social media, but like look at who you're following or look at who's in your inner circle supporting you with the goal. You don't want somebody
Yeah.
who's tearing you down. Well, why are you trying to do that? Or why are you doing
I,
all
I
this?
continue to
And
lean away from it a little bit more and more because I think it's something that people should escape from and find in-person social circles that allow you to get
that's
where
what
you
I
want to
mean.
be.
Like not only the social media influences of who you're following and stuff, but like who's your inner circle, who's supporting you, or a community of people who are striving towards the
Yeah,
same
like if you're the
goals.
smartest person in the room, that's a problem. If you're the fittest or strongest person in the
Yeah.
room, that's a problem because it's not going to challenge you to get better.
Yeah. I better get out of this room then.
Ah, so funny. It took me a second to figure out whether or not that was worth laughing at.
Nate's
Nate's,
laughing,
yeah, I think it
so
was
our
manufactured, but
audience
whatever.
is our audience is happy. So
So let me ask you this. Is it because you're the smartest or the fittest?
both.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I'm obligated to not argue with you on that for the sake of my well-being.
Yeah, just kidding.
But back to the 10 workout rule and the other piece of it.
Hmm.
Urgency is important to start a process, but it's not urgent to work through the process. Like you have to give yourself a chance to stack reps. And that's the
Yeah.
mindset is like, I need to, if I'm out of a rhythm, I need to be urgent about getting back in a rhythm, but not urgent about solving all of the problems or doing all the
Yeah.
things or driving all the intensity at once. So I think it's like urgency has a place in this, but you got to be strategic around what kind of urgency you press. It's like urgency to reintegrate, but not urgency to like chase.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's probably hard for people to iron out themselves, depending on where they're coming from,
Well, so
right?
this is something that I think is really important to highlight is you'll get all this stuff that talks about discipline, discipline, discipline. And I heard a really interesting perspective in a podcast I listened to earlier this week. And it was a gentleman talking about this idea that discipline is fantastic and is necessary because you have to be disciplined to do things.
Yeah.
But like, imagine a cluttered garage. Like, there's only so much space to put something else in there.
Yeah.
And if your brain is cluttered, you can't really get clear about what to be disciplined about. So if you do have so much going on, in order for you to be able to move forward, you have to you have to get clear about things. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, that I mean that makes sense. I think that's also we chatted about this the other week where your environment of like if you're trying to get a workout in your basement and it's in this dinky little
Yeah,
corner
yeah.
and there's a couple dumbbells, it's like, well, set yourself up in an environment that's conducive to you seeing the result of the work that you want to put in,
Well, yeah,
right?
it's like if there's like a lot of chaos, there's just too many expectations, and like you can
Yeah.
only perform. Another example that he'd used was like imagine you have this breaker switch, and all of your electricity is routed into that one breaker.
Mm,
Eventually, it's going to overload and just like
yeah.
going to be a problem. And that same thing happens to people's brains. We put ourselves in all these situations and expectations.
Yeah.
I was telling you about a handful of people I've met with. One gal was like, well, I volunteer for my church, and then I've got this side hustle, and then I'm transitioning from this job into a new job, and I've also got this thing going on in a relationship. And I'm like, you have so much going on.
Yeah.
You came in looking for a place to like blow off steam
Yeah.
and get a workout, but what you actually need is something that's going to reframe the way that you think and put your priorities in order
Yeah.
because you can't manage doing that much at once. It's another Ben Bergeron thing. He's like, you can only really be good at three things in your life at once.
Yeah.
So
We've talked about this before, priorities of the different levels of,
career,
yeah,
relationships, health,
like you
great.
only have so much energy and intensity to put forth in certain areas
And
all at the same time.
another guy I talked to, he's like, I've got all these different business ventures and I have this and my family, and this is the one link in my life that I don't have things under control. And I would argue that it's one of the few links that you can have that compounds on every other aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're biased because it's what we do for a living,
Yeah,
but
but we
we've
see how this impacts people's
correct.
lives
There's a reason we're
for
biased. It's not
years.
just blind bias.
Yeah.
It's that when you can have more energy, more confidence, present yourself better, and that stuff only comes from staying consistent with something, not doing it all in and making it the only thing or the
Hmm.
most intense thing, but just doing something consistent to build that over time. When you step into a room, people treat you differently when you look like you prioritize yourself.
And you just have about
Confidence
yourself,
about you,
the way you, your posture, the way you hold
the way
yourself,
you
the way
present
you
yourself.
present yourself when you
Yep.
go about a room, right?
Yep. And I
Yeah.
think that that's one of those things too, where if you are like 1,000 different directions at once, it's cool to say like, just be disciplined and get it done, but that's not really realistic.
Yeah.
And
Not all the time.
no, and I think that's the biggest thing is like, you've got to simplify before you can really like start to adjust and fine tune.
Yeah.
We've talked about this as our theme, or at least my theme of the year, is simplify and get clear about
Yeah.
things. Like simplicity and clarity are important, because if something is too complex or unclear, like you can't really execute on
You'll
it.
just get lost in it,
Yeah.
or yeah.
And if something, especially in like the phase we're at, but I think that's a really good piece of advice I would give to people is like, if you find yourself saying, I need to be more disciplined, and like being hard on yourself that you aren't, you need to actually like get more clear about what your priorities are so that you can cut out the things that are distracting you from what needs to happen.
And what's realistic for where you're at currently,
Yeah.
right? Like we said, you might only be able to get 2 to 3 days a weekend, but in other times in your life, you might be able to get 4 or 5 in because things are just different,
But think
right?
about the difference there is if you compound that over 12 weeks, that is 25 to 50 hours worth of effort towards improving yourself.
Times that by 4 for a whole year, right?
100 to 200
Yeah.
hours of self-improvement. You
Yeah.
can't tell me that if you took 200 hours in the next 12 months that focus on your physical and mental health, that you wouldn't be a significantly better person
Yeah.
in all aspects of your life a year from now.
Yeah.
Then it's just like, how do I do that? Well, don't make it complicated. Don't
Well,
try to
don't
be
look at the
perfect.
year ahead. Look at the next week.
For sure. And it's like, oh my gosh, that can be so overwhelming. And it certainly is when you put it in that context.
Yeah.
But if you zoom all the way back in, and that's another like mind frame, is zooming in versus zooming out. Zooming out, it's going to be scary because you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much.
But how do you zoom in unless you know what zooming out, like what the overarching goal is, or the direction that you're
You got to be able to
heading?
see it from both perspectives.
Yeah, you need to be able, but focus on one at a time,
Yeah.
right?
Then when you zoom back in, it's like, what's the next step?
Yeah.
I need to show up to the next workout.
Yeah.
I need to give the best effort I have that day and make sure that I repeat it consistently.
Yeah.
It really didn't have to be as hard as most people want to make it. So it's just like we said, shutting out the noise,
Yeah.
getting clear about what makes the most sense for you, and then really starting to build on top of that, because it doesn't have to be hard and intense and crazy perfect every time. It just needs to be something you can stack.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, if we're on the theme of like getting in a routine and finding some sort of consistency, it's don't try to put all your intensities into one thing at a time, right? So whether that's training, or maybe you're like, I just need to like get outside and move more in my day too. It's just, okay, great. You work out a couple days a week, and on the days that you're not working out, you're trying to go outside for a walk on those days. So you're still getting some form of activity or
Yeah,
movement,
so
right?
if you're in a season where you're trying to restart,
Yeah.
look at it in the time frame of a season, which is typically around 3 months, 90 days,
Yeah.
12 weeks, and think, if all I did for the next 12 weeks was intentionally changed and add two habits every week or two,
Mm.
I'm in a really good spot. So maybe the first 2 weeks is I'm going to take a couple of walks a week. I'm going to at least do 90 minutes of walking in a week. I can
Mhm.
do that 2 45-minute sessions. I can do that in 2 30-minute sessions, but I need to get outside. I need some fresh air. I need to
Yeah.
get some sunshine and get some of the energy from
Because
the
as we
earth.
know, that is very healing in a lot of different ways.
And
Stress, cortisol, circadian rhythm,
sleep.
sleep,
Yeah.
immune, all of it.
So I think that if anyone starts anywhere, it's get outside,
Yeah.
get some fresh air, call it 90 minutes a week, whether that's 3 30-minute increments or 2 45-minute increments, because that's going to allow you that space and that time to really like get clear about what's important to you,
Hmm.
to de-stress, to detox from life, leave your phone at home or put it in D&D mode in case you need to take it with you for safety reasons.
Yeah.
But like, then the next 2 weeks, maybe it's, I'm going to start lifting weights and moving my body a little bit more intentionally.
Mm.
Even if that's only, call it 90 minutes, it can be 3 30-minute sessions or 2 45-minute
Yeah.
sessions.
Yeah.
It,
Well,
you know
it's
what I
just that
mean?
that's slowly adding little pieces to the puzzle for the long-term vision without trying to override and just do all these things at one time, when that's not going to be realistic for not only your schedule, but just like your mental capacity to be taking on something new or adding something new in when you maybe are busy or
Yeah, it's
whatever.
not the sexiest thing in the world. It really
No,
isn't.
most things aren't,
Yeah.
right? I mean, most things about life and consistency and building and growing is not,
Yeah, like achieving it is the sexy part, right? But that's not
but the back end work is not.
the process to get there is usually not that
Yeah.
sexy.
Yeah.
And the things that you do see when people are at the level where it does get sexy, they've laid a ton of groundwork to allow themselves to be able to get that level of complexity and fanciness to their routine
Because they've built it throughout the years,
because it's been years
right?
of compounded effort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, and I think just that's what slowly allows you to get into a rhythm again, right?
Yep.
And build your routine.
Well, and you just got to do something that allows you to remove that
Yeah.
pressure and prevents that loop of start too fast, too intense, unrealistic, stop, wait for a while, restart, stop. And it's just that stress loop or that
Yeah.
start stop loop, and it's that roller coaster. And I think the thing that we've really gotten clear about here with both clients and our staff and just our general approach is that if you can take the mindset, because most people are wanting to see physical change, like let's be honest, they want their bodies to change because they feel better about themselves if they look in the mirror and they like what they see.
Yeah.
Like that's human nature. That's totally respectable and okay.
Yeah.
But instead of looking at it as how do I make my body change, it's like how do I become the healthiest version of myself?
Mm-hmm.
How do I focus on improving my performance and productivity in my life, regardless of whether that's at work, in relationships, fitness, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And then how do I really put my efforts and energy towards those things? Because by no irony, when you focus on your health and you focus on your performance, your body is going to change if you do it consistently for a long enough period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what's going to be able to help you maintain it long term as well, right?
Yep.
Keeping those habits and sticking to them. So I think it's about creating a sustainable way to approach growth.
It starts up top.
Yeah.
Yeah, like anything, you got to make a decision to commit to this idea of becoming a better version of yourself for the long haul and really like gravitating to this identity of I'm not the type of person who's just gonna like chase a short-term fix to change my body
Yeah.
or only get stuck in things that create more stress in my life and step back and really see the bigger picture that like if I want to be healthy for the rest of my life and I haven't been able to achieve that with the process I've taken or the plan I've taken or the strategies I've tried up to this point, something different has to happen. So that looks like clearing your mind with all the things that are causing you to go down paths that don't serve you, and then starting to make really simple and sustainable adjustments that are realistic to fit into where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like, don't chase these perfect weeks and these perfect chunks of time. Find what's sustainable and repeatable and build and go from there.
Yeah, well, and when you miss one, that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
If you miss a second one, it's like, you're going to start to feel it. But if you miss 3 in a row, whether that's consecutive days or planned days, like that's momentum in the wrong direction. And that's really what this all comes down to at the end of the day.
Is catching it, getting on top of it so
Yep.
it doesn't continue to turn into a sliding effect of just getting off track for weeks or months or something, right?
Yeah, because you may feel like you get stuck at certain points, but if you keep staying consistent, eventually you'll break through that plateau or whatever that might be. But if you stop once, it's like, okay, that's going to happen. If you stop twice, like it said, it's going to build. But as soon as you make it a habit of not doing the things that are going to like that you committed to, that's momentum in the opposite direction. But the cool part about that is that can be changed just as quick the other way around by saying, you know what, today's a new day. I had a horrible week. I had a horrible 2 weeks, but I haven't completely quit on myself, and taking the mindset that you really never lose if you just don't stop.
Yeah.
Even if things aren't going to be perfect through that time frame. And then just like we'd said, pick one thing, zoom back in and do the next right thing.
Yeah.
Because that's where people get lost is they try to go back to perfect.
Yeah.
And as we said, perfect just doesn't exist.
Life is not perfect. You might have perfect moments, but it's not always going to be a perfect little picture. So don't plan your plan around it being perfect all the time.
Cool.
Yeah.
With that, we'll plan to catch you guys next week.
This episode of the Higher Form podcast is powered by Avexia Health and Performance, your home for smart training, simple nutrition, and real accountability. Built to help you look, feel, and perform your best. Whether you're just getting started or chasing your next level, visit AvexiaKC.com to learn more and start building your higher form today.